question.
What's your question?
So, in the definition of purpose, it says like the intention or the objective, right? So, would you say, so when I did like saying that it's objective, would you say that purpose is objective and potential is subjective? All right, I don't want to get out.
Purpose objective and potential subjective?
Yeah. Because I think sometimes, a lot of times, we like kind of confuse the potential in someone with the purpose.
What's good people? It's B here. Yup, we live, all in the cut. Like what? Back again this week with our ICU podcast. Want to thank everyone in advance for tuning in. We're going to continue where we left off. We talked about last week reason and rhyme. It's on me. So yeah, we talked last week about reason and rhyme, relationships, the purpose of relationships, got some good fruit from that. And just talked about, chemistry, compatibility, talked about suitability. We talked about affinity, vision, and purpose, and how all that lines up to make a relationship sustainable. Once you have those elements in place, it can really create a great environment for you to develop, to heal, to grow, to continue to work towards self-mastery, first and foremost, but bringing out the best in one another. We're just going to pick up where we left off last week. As this week, we're going to focus on two of those aspects, particularly being purpose, chemistry. And we're excited to do that, So, yeah, that's what we're going to do this evening. I want to definitely shout out our followers. Feel free to comment. Feel free to share. Please share. Check us out on YouTube too. You can subscribe to our YouTube page. It's BandZ ICU. And so you can definitely subscribe to that, share that as well. But definitely follow us here on Facebook. We're going to have some services that we're going to be offering very soon. And so 702, you know about that. So we're definitely excited about all this opportunity here to share live with you all what we got going on.
Microphone check. Can y'all hear him well? Too? Also?
Like,
oh, baby.
I'm gonna cut off the smoke.
Rotate. Hey. All right. Oh, look at that, baby. You see you?
I see you. There you go. So yeah, again, tonight we're talking about purpose and chemistry. We're gonna just definitely roll that off the tongue and let it flow. And so purpose, we got some things that we wrote down. You want to read purpose, baby?
You just put me on.
I'm gonna put you on blast, like bye.
All right. So purpose, that which a person sets before himself as an object to be reached or accomplished. The end or aim to which the view is directed in any plan, measure, or exertion. We believe the supreme being created intelligent beings for some benevolent and glorious purpose. And if so, how glorious and benevolent must be his purpose? Slotted it in the former.
The plan of redemption.
There you go.
How about you start that?
Okay. We believe the supreme being created intelligent beings for some benevolent and glorious purpose. And if so, how glorious and benevolent must be his purpose and the plan of redemption. Intention, design, the sense, however, is hardly to be distinguished from the former, as purpose always includes the end in view. Every purpose is established by counsel, Proverbs 20, being predestined according to the purpose of him who worketh all things after the counsel of his own will, Ephesians 1.
Indeed, indeed. Shout out Terrence Stewart, Brianna Minor for coming on in.
Yes.
Thank you all for joining. So purpose is something that we intend to do, right? Something that we want to accomplish. It can be synonymous with the goal. It can be synonymous with the plan. But what we have to always keep in mind in light of purpose is the bigger purpose, which is that of the Creator's purpose, as it is designed for our lives, right? We all have a design, and we talked about that last week. That purpose for humanity is to reign, to reflect the image of Yah. So reign over our own personal affairs, right? And ultimately all of creation, reflect the image and likeness of Yah, and to reproduce, to be fruitful and multiply. So when we deal with those three aspects of purpose, we're truly fulfilling a sovereign plan that the Creator has for us. But in that, it's so beautiful because, like snowflakes, every one of us are individuals. Every one of us has our own imprints. And so when we understand that, we all have very unique purposes to fulfill as well in light of the overall scheme of our, greater design. And so,
Oh, you know what?
break it down.
That we, even in being in a marriage and relationship, your existence does not stand alone in that marriage. You know what I mean? Like, so I think a lot of times that we lose who we are in our existence when we get into
The imprint.
And like we have to still remember that beyond that marriage, like you still were created for an existence outside of that, right? So you still have an individual purpose of your own.
That's huge. I know in many of my past relationships, I had identified entirely with the relationship and lost a lot of my self-identity in order to appease the relationship and to make it work. And even though it wasn't working, so in doing that, I really compromised a lot of my own purpose, a lot of my own identity, as opposed to fulfilling it. And that's the thing, a relationship should allow you to grow in your purpose. And this is why it's so important to have compatibility and suitability along with the chemistry, because if those purposes merge, that's what allows for you to really grow and to experience, fulfillment. Yeah.
And you said something major. Keeping a relationship. I think sometimes that we forget that overall the Most High is the head, and that should be the number one, thing or entity to
serve and make that.
Because when that's happening, everything else is fulfilled.
That's order.
Truly.
That's order. No doubt. And so, so purpose again, object, a plan, a goal, and that's something we all have to discover first. And I tell all my boys, if you discover your purpose, you discover your superpower, right? Your superpower, because nothing can derail you from your purpose. This is how the Messiah could speak so authoritatively. It's like, my time isn't yet, and he avoided snares and traps, and he knew what his time was, because while he was on purpose, being on purpose, every assignment that he took was in order. He wasn't going to do anything that was out of order. He even checked his mother, like, Mom, why you got me doing this? It's not my time right now. I mean, he did it, but that was very, exceptional. That was a very exceptional case, because, that was intended to really be a what would you call that? A harbinger, a forerunner to what miracles he was about to undergo. And it was symbolic. I'm not going to chase that rabbit though, but the purposes of our heart must align with the purposes of the Most High in order for everything to truly flow.
I got a question.
What's your question?
So, in the definition of purpose, it says like the intention or the objective, right? So, would you say, so when I just like saying that it's objective, would you say that purpose is objective and potential is subjective? All right, I don't want to
Is
get out.
purpose objective and potential subjective?
Yeah. Because I think sometimes, a lot of times, we like kind of confuse the potential in someone with the purpose. And so, if the purpose is
I see what you're
objective,
saying.
does that make? And maybe we can say that for another time, but it was just something that.
Yeah. I think real quick, just looking at it, it's up to the individual to fulfill their potential and to fulfill their purpose. So they're both, in a sense. I would say this: everyone has a responsibility to fulfill their purpose and their potential. And in so doing, it becomes subjective. So it's twofold, really. It's both, because you have to realize what your purpose is and fulfill it. And if you have a collective purpose, you have the responsibility to bring that to the table and then be held accountable by your spouse.
Yeah. Speaking of accountability. Woo, that'd be kind of tough.
Yeah. I mean, but
it's beautiful.
It's a challenging thing. And that's the challenge. That's the growth. And that's what we'll get into that some more, because we're going to talk about a couple other dynamics related to this, as it relates to even alchemy. And that accountability is an alchemical solution that allows for that growth to take place, to go from that base to that peak.
Brianna said, love this. Karen said that is so true. Thank you all. Definitely. Thank y'all for tuning in again.
So every purpose is established by counsel. This is what Proverbs 20 tells us, and that's so important. You have to get advising on matters. You have to, seek prayer even, you have to go through the necessary steps to get to a place of purpose, because wisdom comes from that. Wisdom adds to your purpose. And if you don't have the right steps to accomplish your purpose, it's not going to manifest.
And I think a lot of times, like, we kind of fail to seek wise counsel because we're like, we don't want nobody in our business. And, we just kind of have all of these stigmas. But two, not having wise counsel creates, like, you in a rut, like, if you're not certain, right? So you deal with all this doubt, confusion, and all these other things. Yeah. And what I've always been taught, Pastor Q, is that, the Most High is not, a L of doubt, fear, confusion, or any of that. And so when that settles in, you do need someone to be in agreement with you. So that's why, if you really don't understand why to have wise counsel, that's like one of the reasons that you really should. So, yeah.
Agree. And then it says, being predestined according to the purpose of him who works all things after the counsel of his own will. And this is something that, is interesting. Predestination is a very challenging principle and concept for some people to understand, that things are already ordained even before our existence. And that's why it's important to tap into that vein, right? So you can flow and find out what your purpose is in life. That's the part of the self-discovery that's a part of the purpose, because you got to know who you are in order to get into the fulfillment of your purpose. True?
True.
Word.
Over here, like,
you know what I'm saying? Right. So chemistry involves the study of all things chemical processes, chemical compositions, and chemical manipulation, in order to better understand the way in which materials are structured, how they change, and how they react in certain situations. Having gained chemical understanding at molecular levels, chemistry graduates may choose to apply this knowledge in almost unlimited ways, as it can be used to analyze all matter and therefore our entire environment. That's a dope quote, What's coming to your mind? I see you like over there.
I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Feeling it.
Because like when you think of chemical, we also have a chemical balance in our brain, right?
Right.
But in relationship, you have to know your partner chemically.
Mhm.
Like you have that's that bond that's creating. And if you don't know your partner chemically, then that means that you're not that bond is off, right? There's not enough atoms or what are they called? Protons and neurons, so there's some energy that's off because you should know your mate chemically. And it made me reflect on who and I, like how just not even just compatible, but how in sync we are with different things, whether it be my body, my mind, thoughts, feelings. Yeah, like truly, but interesting.
And adding on to that, of course, I would say the foundation and basis for it all is knowing your chemical composition, right? Once you know how you react or how you respond in certain situations, how your processes work, what your compositions are, and then how to manipulate even yourself in the proper manner, right? Because manipulation is not necessarily a bad thing. It can be negative if it's undertaken in a negative sense, but it doesn't have to be negative all the time. And this is all about study, right? Know thyself. This is what our ancestors would say. Know thyself and you shall know the universe and the Most High, right? Because if you know your chemical processes and compositions and you know how to use those, which is manipulation, in a way that's going to be effective for and beneficial for your environment, right? So this is how we can like apply this now, as it says, in unlimited ways, and we can understand better all matter in our environment. And this is how we improve our society. Family is the foundation for an entire nation or a kingdom. The entire kingdom of heaven is established upon the foundations of family. And when families are intact and when families are structured, when families are chemically composed in a sustainable and powerful way, then the entire kingdom is going to be successful.
Being knowing, like when you say like let me calm down. When you were speaking, I heard, knowing whose image you're made in. Because when you know that, then that helps you know that chemical composition. Like I think that's important. So anyway.
Going back to reflection.
If you know that you are the apple, the creator's eye, then you also have like, I don't know.
Now you conduct yourself as such. You carry yourself in a way that is suitable to the essence of who you are. Because that's the first thing, you gotta, all the principles that we're talking about, first and foremost, apply to ourselves. And that's what we really want to espouse and promote, is that this all comes down, relationships are really about being the right one, being the one who is the right one in a relationship. We talked about trust last week, about, it's not about whether or not your partner trusts you, it's whether or not you trust yourself. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. And once you do that, everything falls in line. Or it goes in line. It doesn't just fall. We have to place it in order, right? And this is what those chemical compositions are. It's like when you create solutions, you just don't pour stuff in willy-nilly. You got to pour the right amounts in at the right time. You got to know how to respond in certain situations that doesn't trigger your partner in a way that's going to make them volatile, especially if you know the situation is sensitive and tense already. Right? So you got to find ways to diffuse it and not let that solution combust and react in a way that's volatile, because volatility is not effective and beneficial in relationships.
You choose a reaction. You definitely
Every time. Every time. They say a soft response is wisdom, you know, just kind of paraphrasing what scripture says. But a harsh response, that's going to evoke those emotions every time. And our emotions are pretty much like the most volatile solutions that we have chemically, our emotions, right? And people have manipulated those. They've studied us to know how to, you know, pull our strings and get us to react ways, and especially with your spouse, because you're with them every day. But if you're not pulling or really stimulating the chemical composition of your spouse emotionally the right way, you're just going to create more harsh and volatile reactions.
And what are emotions connected?
Your heart.
And
What's it connected to? Your mind.
chemicals.
Chemicals. So if you go into a relationship chemically imbalanced, you need to kind of take some time out to find that balance. You know, that's what you got to be the right partner in that relationship. You have to be. You can't expect someone else to be someone else. You know, you have to be the one that you know is representing.
Because if you're mixing the wrong chemicals, then it becomes toxic, right?
Yep.
Toxicity. And you know, they have those on the
Right.
bottles and stuff, like, you know, toxicity level, toxic level, hazardous. You know, you don't want to be hazardous. Like, that's another thing. Like, when you don't have the right chemicals, you can be a hazard. You know, and not only to yourself, but to others. Others but yourself.
Yep. Hello. I think we're good though.
I think so too.
So let's look at some of the elements that scripture identifies would be the right chemical solutions, right? We're going to look at the Most High's nature. And again, in Hebrew, they're called midot. These are the righteous characteristics of the Most High. We're going to first go to Exodus 34. And we're going to look at verses 5 through 7. Because this is where you find the character traits of the Most High. This is what Moses was told when Moses was like, show me your esteem. Show me your glory, Most High. You think you can't take all of me. I'm going to put you in this rock. I'm going to pass by, let you see my back. And when he passed by, this is the proclamation that he made in verse 5. I'll wait for you to get there. So,
34?
34 verses 5 through 7.
Okay.
I'm reading from a scripture that's called the Sefer. Okay, this is a restored name version. It says, and Yah descended in the cloud and stood with him there and proclaimed the name of Yahuwah, Baruch Hashem, blessed be his name. And Yah passed before him and proclaimed, Yah, Yah, El, the merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, and that will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and upon the children's children unto the third and to the fourth generation. So when we look at these components, when we look at these elements that go into the solution of who the Most High is, we can see that Yah is merciful and gracious. He's kind, right? He gives favor, right? And so we also see that he is long-suffering, patient. Are we patient with our spouse? Are we merciful with our spouse? Are we favorable with our spouse? Right? These are the things that go into all that. This is what, do we do that with ourselves? Right? Because this is what all this comes from. If we hold ourselves in a negative light and don't esteem and love ourselves in a healthy sense, this is going to spill over. You know what I'm saying? It's going to froth and react in a negative way. And so we see also keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity, transgression, sin, but by no means clear the guilty. Justice. We got to be just. We got to be right. If you're wrong, you're wrong. You got to be able to rebuke your partner in a very righteous way. Hold them accountable. That's that accountability. You know, I'm just saying in general.
No, true. Yeah. You know,
embracing.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a challenge. It definitely is. Because
is.
nobody likes to be told, back, look, hey, pick it up. You got to step it up. Oh, okay.
Especially when you're not used to anyone holding you accountable. If you're used to, you know, dishing out the accountability, you know, it definitely makes it a little challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. That's deep. So that's the nature that we have to deal with. This is what we have to reflect. When we look at our Father and our King, this is what we see from him. And as our Father and our King, we want to bear those same character traits. Okay. So moving on, we're going to go to Galatians 5 now. We're going to deal with some other principles. Anything else you want to say on that from Exodus?
No.
You sure? You good? So in Galatians 5, we see that there's two types of fruit. I'm going to deal with this first fruit first. Set up a little different. So this first fruit, maybe you can do that in Galatians 5, 22 through 26. Did you read that one? Verses 22 through 26.
Thank you, babe.
Go.
See,
I got you.
Help me. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. Those who belong to the Messiah have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. Since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking, and envying each other.
So those are the spirits, the fruits, the elements that we want to definitely reflect. We want to give off love, joy, peace, forbearance, again, long suffering, kindness, right? Fruitfulness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control. Like there's no law against that. You can't give enough of that to people.
And I think checking in with your partner to see if you're doing that. You know what I'm saying? Where am I at, babe? You know, just really, because that's part of it too, because sometimes we can think that we're doing something and we're being a good spouse, and our spouse may be lacking and not feeling like we're operating in one of those fruits. So we want to be intentional about that as well, and just check in and see.
Right. And even know how to respond to it in that moment. You know, you don't want things to fester, right? If you let some solutions sit for a while, they become more toxic. You know, they can actually fester more and have that buildup of more harmful toxicity. So you want to make sure you're responding in a timely fashion, right? You don't want things to fester and just build. You want to, you know how to address the matter at that moment. And a lot of times people think a confrontation is something that's negative. It's not. You know, to confront something in an appropriate manner is very healthy, and to do it in a loving, peaceful, and gentle way, as it says, to be gentle, right? And so these fruits of the Spirit that we want to walk in, right? If we live in the Spirit, let us walk in the Spirit. These are the spirits that we want to walk in. These are the solutions. These are the chemicals, if you will, just using that as an anecdote or as a metaphor that we want to walk in. And, you know, not being conceited, provoking, and envying one another, especially in relationships. Like we can become so self-centered in relationships, right? Provoke each other into a relationship, you know, that tit for tat stuff, or watch this, you know, you did this, or we can't do that, you know. You can't envy your spouse. You can't envy, you know, someone that you love. That's not healthy. That's hate. That's literally hate, you know. So we're going to keep it moving. We're going to look at 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Of course, we're all familiar with this here, right? Verses 4 through 8. Dealing with love, right? This says, love suffers long and is kind. Love envies not. Love does not vaunt itself, is not puffed up. It does not behave itself unseemly, seeks not her own, is not easily provoked, thinks no evil, rejoices not in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fall. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it vanishes away. But love is what endures all things, right? Love is that solution that allows for everything to move forward. It is the most powerful force in existence. It is what the world needs now. And that's why that song goes. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. Yeah, that's what it is.
And who sings that?
Don't get me going on that. I don't know who sings. But those are very important chemical solutions that we need.
It is. I remember when that verse, those scriptures first settled into me. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
I was like, you mean to tell me I gotta be patient? I gotta be what?
Mhm.
I can't keep no record, meaning I can't.
Mhm.
Oh man, that was tough.
Exactly.
But the beauty on the other side was just like, that's true love. Like, and when you learn that love is patient and really that it keeps no record, I mean, it really develops you in a deeper way to like love, intimately in a relationship, whether that be friendship or even, parenthood, just whatever kind of relationship, an intimate relationship, like
Mhm.
that it changes when you allow that to, settle in. But
Talk about your post today on Facebook, that you posted not too long before you got to file. That was powerful.
thanks. Yeah, it was just a reflection. I was just like, wow, some I wish someone would have taught me how to love, right? And understand what love meant. And love, when it boils down to it, is the reciprocity, right? We are taught to, love and, love your neighbor and do all these things. But on the other end, we have learned to also take disrespect, to devalue ourselves, feel unworthy, and do all these things in the name of love. And then we're left just kind of feeling stripped. And so I was just reflecting, like,
Mhm.
I wish I had that. So now knowing, what loves look like, what love looked like, it has allowed me to set boundaries, baby down.
Baby dad.
And yeah, to set boundaries. And yeah, did I touch
That's
on that?
powerful. Yeah. Because I mean, and that's the thing. Love is not arbitrary. And that's what I really want to like bring out with that. Love is not just how you feel. Love is a principle. Love is really a universal reality and a force, as opposed to just something. This is what I think love is. And that's not love.
And it's balance. Like, I wasn't taught that love was balanced. Like, there's, for me, like, love was kind of always like this. The scale was never even. The scale of love should be even. Therefore, that reciprocity is there. And if you don't feel that, and if you know that you're genuinely putting love out and you're not receiving it back, then at some point you have to stop yourself, right? And there's a way to love and not abuse yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it can't just empty you. You just giving and giving and giving, and you ain't getting refilled and brought that love back, reciprocal value. Yeah, you're giving yourself
way too much.
And that's not compatible. It's incompatible at that point. And unsuitable.
What you looking for, babe?
The verse after the one you read.
Oh, okay.
So this is the last element in terms of the right elements that we want to have, right? And we'll post these passages, on our blog. Check out our blog. Check out our YouTube page again. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and go to our blog. And we'll put that all into this as well.
So Philippians 4, verses 4 through 8 says, "Rejoice in the Master. Always, I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Most High is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to Yah. And the peace of Yah, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in the Messiah. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things."
My goodness. Pure. Whatever is pure. Imagine keeping your chemical solution pure. Organic, not tampered with, not corrupted, right? Not defiled. And we've, got to points in society where that stuff is acceptable, where people are, more prone to celebrate corruption and to recognize impurity and the lack of innocence, right? Infidelities, right? The wrong chemicals, the chemicals that are not going to build us up and not going to transform society alchemically from a base to a sublime substance. And that's what the whole purpose of life is, to reach our highest potential. You talked about that. And that's what we want to do. And this is what we're promoting: healing, wholeness, oneness, love, light, life, and truth, right? These are the principles that will bring a huge transformative process to society that will keep it in a pristine state that everybody can live and enjoy life. But it starts in the household. It starts with your house, your personal house, and then it starts in your household. And this is what we're promoting: kingdom of the covenant, the kingdom covenant, and the love of that. And so just to kind of wrap this up, we're going to look at the wrong elements, right? We're going to look at the fruits of the flesh. Galatians 5, again, this is verse 14 through 17. It says that all the Torah is understood in one word. This is verse 14, Galatians 5. Even in this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. But if you bite and devour one another, take heed that you be not consumed by one another. This I say then, walk in the spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary to one another, incompatible, right? So that you cannot do the things that you should. But if you be led by the spirit, you are not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, sedition, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as also I have told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of Elohim. And this is what it's all about at the end of the day: the kingdom. And this is a here and now reality. The kingdom is not something in the great by and by. This is something that we're seeking to bring to earth, right? Let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Let your will be done. Let your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. This is our responsibility to do that. And it starts with you. Extend that to your spouse, right? To your children, to your community, right? To society, to the world. And this is how we transform things. This is how we bring about a new reality, a new heaven and a new earth, if you will.
When you were reading that, I heard that you have a lot of marriages that are not inheriting the kingdom. Like, a lot of marriages are going, and relationships are going to hell together. Like, do you want to choose that kind of
outcome?
That? Yeah, I was gonna say, like, that, like, for you and your spouse, like for your children,
right?
Like, that's deep.
I mean, listen to the fruit, right? Now, all these things are acceptable: adultery, idolatry, fornication, uncleanness, witchcraft. And you go into a bookstore. I saw this video on IG not too long ago. He went to a bookstore. He saw like a shelf of scriptures and just stuff of the biblical principle. One shelf, but they had all this witchcraft and stuff on all these other bookshelves promoting it. On the front of it, in the front of the building, the front of the store. I mean, just everywhere, just promoting, just darkness, magic. And I'm not saying that, like, we should be afraid of that stuff, but understand what it is, and how magic has a limited scope of power. The Most High is all powerful, and there's an inheritance that we have through our faithfulness and the covenant that allows for things to unlock that we inherently have as power that is prophetic, which is more powerful than anything. But I won't get into that right now either. But yeah, all these things here are just, what the world has now deemed to be good. What's good is evil, what's evil is good. we're gonna wrap up this last verse here.
Oh, you wanted me to read it, huh?
I can read it if you want me to.
I won't make a big deal out of it right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
So come back. Let me tell you something right quick.
No, I'll read it, babe. This is coming from Romans 8:5, verses 5 through 14. Those who live according to the flesh have their mind set on what the flesh desires, but those who live in accordance with the Spirit have their mind set on what the Spirit desires. The mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace. The mind governed by the flesh is hostile to Yah. It does not submit to Yah's law, nor can it do so. Those who are in the realm of the flesh cannot please Yah. You, however, are not in the realm of the flesh, but are in the realm of the Spirit, if indeed the Spirit of Yah lives in you. And if anyone does not have the Spirit of the Messiah, they do not belong to the Messiah. But if Messiah is in you, then even though your body is subject to death because of sin, the Spirit gives life because of righteousness. And if the Spirit of him who raised Yahshua from the dead is living in you, he who raised the Messiah from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies because of his Spirit who lives in you. Therefore, brothers and sisters, we have an obligation, but it is not to the flesh to live according to it. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the misdeeds of the body, you will live. For those who are led by the Spirit of Yah are the children of Yah.
That's excellent. And you look at elements, the periodic table, you got some elements that have half-lives. You have some elements that have more shorter lifespans than the others who can just continue to exist. But this is based on their chemical composition, what they're made of, right? What they're made of. And what we're made of, when we understand we are made of the Spirit of the Most High and we live according to the Spirit of the Most High, and we bring that to our relationships, that's going to sustain the relationship as well. It's going to sustain yourself, and it's going to sustain the relationship. It's going to allow you to coexist and to experience a bond and an environment that is going to be, as they say here, life and peace. That's what we want to experience, life and peace. Thank you. What's your closing thought? What you guys think? What you think about it? Chemistry and purpose. Purpose and chemistry. Closing arguments.
I think that they should be balanced. If there's any imbalance, seek wise counsel and see before moving forward, you know. And there's going to be some, I would say maybe some reluctancy, you know, maybe if you haven't been in a relationship or you know, there may be some things that cause you to be like, and as you should. But if there's something that's, you know, completely out of order, I definitely seek wise counsel. And again, that with everything comes balance. There should be no scale that's off, you know, because if it's off, then that means something's being cheated, right? That's just like going to the, never mind, you know, anywhere, and that scale is off. You're like, hold on, bro, man, like this ain't right. Give me my money. And you need, you know, that equality in a relationship. So you want to make sure that you're definitely getting that, because at some point, again, if it's not balanced, you're being cheated. And you're cheating yourself. So you're robbing the church. No, but seriously, you're robbing yourself. And you know, it could be robbing yourself, or you could be robbing your spouse.
Right.
In a situation.
Yeah. Wow. What's up, Auntie? I see you in here. I would just add to that, you know, make sure that your composition is right. Make sure that you're composed of the right elements, you know, before you enter into a relationship. Make sure that you're not volatile. Make sure that your solutions are, you know, effective, so that when you do experience some sort of, you know, trip or some sort of experience that can, you know, potentially be volatile, you know how to best resolve the matter, you know, because you don't want a volatile situation. And that's all about chemical compositions, you know. So that healing process, you know, be healed, be whole, you know, bring that to there, understand transformation, give favor to your spouse, you know, be merciful, understand what right elements go into that, you know.
May I say something? So being healed, being whole does not mean that you're not going to have any broken pieces. Okay. It does not mean that you're going to be fully put together, but you need to make sure that for the most part, you have all your pieces, right? There's no pieces missing. And together you and your mate can work on putting those pieces in places, because I'm not all the way in place, but I feel like I got my pieces. I got my pieces though.
Right. We put them together. We both are. You know, we're both a work in progress, and that's the beauty of it. We recognize that, and we give each other favor and mercy for that. But we hold each other accountable at the same time, and we do it with love. You know, and some jokes sometimes. We may have a couple cracks on each other, but you know, it's all in love, and we keep it moving. You know, and we don't stay upset long when we do get a little hiccups and stuff, because
Have
we
we
want
like been upset though? I mean, like upset.
Not like high. Nah, we ain't got high. We had some like, oh no,
I don't like you right now.
you tripping? You tripping though? I don't like
Tripping
the chemicals. What kind of chemicals you got going over there? Get off the Bunsen burner.
So you want that angel?
Right.
All right.
Right. So yeah, it's a learning process, and you know, long suffering. Definitely got to be long suffering with one another. But yeah, that does pretty much wrap it up. You know, again, check us out on YouTube, BandZ ICU. You can check our blog out, which is BandZ ICU as well. .wordpress.com. We're going to get the .com fully soon, but check out the blog. You know, we got some services. You can go to our BandZ ICU Facebook page, where we do have some services that we're working on. You can check those out as well.
You won't be disappointed.
Not at all. Not at all. You know, what we have here is a wonderful solution that we're presenting so that our environment can improve. You know, we want these relationships, particularly melanated relationships, to thrive. You know, we want to be a witness and an example of that, because we've both been through so much in our own lives, and we're tired. You know, we got a lot of stuff that we got riding on this. And so, you know, we're definitely looking to share our experiences, our ups, downs, highs, lows, more highs and lows, more ups and downs, you know, with one another. We're going to be real and transparent at the same time though, you know, so you see us on a Tuesday kind of sitting like this one day. It's all good though.
Right.
Nah, that ain't gonna happen though. We're gonna not speak that to existence.
True.
Manifest what we want, you know. So yeah. I want to thank you all for tuning in. This is B.
I'm Z.
And we gonna do what we do. Much love, y'all. Peace and power. Deuces.